Hey there everyone, this is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. You are once again looking at the Necchi BU Mira in remarkably mint condition. Incredible for the early 1950s Italian machine to have its paint intact. Um, this is the BU Mira sewing machine, and I thought I would highlight something. The BU in the BU line, the Necchi company originally had a different tension disc assembly design in the first BUs, which I believe came out in the late 1940s, right after the war, and eventually they went to this style, and you'll sometimes see this on some German machines, and it's not surprising. Actually, the Necchi company did some private labeling even for some of the German manufacturers. So private labeling is something that's been around a long time. I thought I would show you the side compartment of this machine, and something that makes the Neckis of this period unique. Most vintage machines, all vintage machines that I know of, have what's called a pressure bar spring, and it allows you to adjust the tension. So if I turn it, if I loosen it like this, notice that there's an indicator. There's actually a piece of steel that, and if I tighten it back down, notice this is moving, and it even has a number that you can set it to. Now this isn't digital, right? It's not a micro computing level of exactness, but it's kind of nice to have that. And in the manual, it will sometimes tell you, depending on the types of fabrics you're working with, to adjust your pressure bar tension to a certain number. That's kind of a cool feature, I think, because you'll notice when I'm turning, whether I turn it to the left meaning lighter or looser, this moves, and obviously the spring is moving, but this giant knurled bolt, for lack of a better word, does not actually go up and down like some of them, which is kind of interesting. So anyway, I'm going to take the side door off here so you guys can see what's behind there, and let's see. And again, this may sound obvious, but things often aren't obvious until you learn, and I have sometimes learned the hard way. For example, the side doors. Some brands have a door that has hinges and it swings open and closes. Others you have to remove the side door or panel because it's held on with a bolt. Sometimes it's a thumb screw. In this case, it's not. This is just a straight head screw bolt. And notice I'm holding on to this. Whenever you do this, always hold on to the part you're trying to loosen. If you don't, it could just stick there and wait for you, or it could drop down. And if you do that, you could end up damaging the bed of the machine. You could scratch the chrome on the bobbin plate right below. You could scratch the paint on the bed. You could scratch the paint on the door, or you could break something. And it's just, just be aware that you don't want this thing flying around. So there's the little bolt. Now sometimes they're sticky from oil, but this one's not. And there we go. What does it say inside? Italy 26604 and Necchi down on the bottom. And it has this little funny, there's like a grill here, and it allows air, but it's got like this little, I don't know if that's a brass screen, and I don't know exactly if it may be for reflection, because the bulb of the machine is sitting right here. The Neckis take a very, very small watt bulb, and it's a bulb that they used. I think a few other companies used it, but it's not common. And it uses less wattage than most. But whether it's this one or even one of the higher watt vintage sewing machine lights, these sewing machine lights, I restore them because I like having them there as a reference almost always, unless the client says, and I'll just use a big LED light. You can sometimes get LED bulb replacements for the original bulbs. I don't know if this one is available in an LED. But regardless, sewing machine light bulbs are not exactly anything to write home about. They're not particularly bright. They can, they're incandescent, so they run warm. But anyway, this one is functioning just fine. And now, if I zoom in, you guys might be able to see some of the bunnies that have collected in here in this side compartment over the years. Don't know if that's going to show up There's even dust in here. And again, this could have taken, for all I know, this door may never have been opened at all. So I'm just going to take, you could do this with a brush actually, just take and get the dust off. And if you want to wipe it clean, you can. I'm not sure that that's needed. Just you want to get the dust out of there because you don't want it getting itself worked into, let me zoom back out so you can see what I'm doing. You don't want to get the dust to, where is my brush? You don't want dust getting into the moving parts of the machine. That's the whole purpose of this. Okay, so I'm just going to take and, this machine didn't have as much dust as some of them. If I had more, I would break out the wet dry vac you guys have seen me use, and I would use that. But this is a fairly small amount, so I've cleaned the little door of the dust. And now I'm going to take, and you can do this with alcohol, I'm going to take and just dampen your cotton swab. Now, one thing to mention, if you are going to use a vacuum, do not use any kind of liquid cleaner, alcohol, or oil in here first, right? Because the dust will clump and you won't be able to vacuum it and you'll have a mess. If you're going to vacuum. I'm not going to, but if I was, I would do that first and then come back with this. But I thought I would just show you guys the stuff that I can pull out of here with a dampened cotton swab, and just giant dust bunnies. Again, it's possible that this machine, considering it has fairly low wear levels, I'm going to guess this side door may never have been open. What I have found is most of this is dust. I don't know that a ton, there may be some dust that comes from the lint of sewing, from fabric and thread, but most of your lint ends up, ooh, look at that. Most of your lint ends up getting down in your bobbin and your shuttle area. Now, again, you may want to shine a flashlight. That could help you see inside there. Some machines are easier to look inside than are others. And again, I'd want to get, whatever method you use, if you use the vacuum method or the brush method or the combination, whatever you're doing to get the dust out, make sure you get it out before you go to oil the machine, like I said. Otherwise you have clumpy messes of you've got dust that is now more like mud, and you really don't want that. That becomes a real pain. You can get it out, but it's just, you don't want to make extra work for yourself. There's plenty to do when you're overhauling a machine. You don't need to add any. And again, this is something that some people have used canned air. The problem with canned air, and I've used it before, it worked okay. Canned air is ridiculously, it's like $10 or $15 a can. But even if you don't mind that, you can't really control where the dust is going when you're blowing it around. Usually it's not harmful, but you never know. It just makes a mess. It makes your job tougher. So I'm kind of no longer using the canned air. I really think vacuuming is wiser, or just doing what I'm doing here. Going in and letting the cotton swabs pull it out, and I can turn my hand wheel to move parts of the machine so I can get to other parts here, other angles that I might want to be able to get in here and access. Now that I've gotten the vast majority of what I can see anyway, this is with the cotton swab. I'm going to take my lint brush, even though most of this is just dust, and I'm going to come in here and see what you can see, little clumps that just came out. Just see what I can get out. The brush is not going to hurt anything. I can even take the little scrubber part of the brush and see if I can get down in here, and you can see me pulling more dust out, and I can even turn the hand wheel again, make some room to get in there. And again, you're using a brush that's designed to be used with a sewing machine, and some of this is going to fall down into here, so you want to come come back and take a look. Don't forget to go up top. There's a mechanism up top here. And then last but not least, you can just, you can then try to vacuum. You might, again, I'm not going to bother with canned air, but you can literally just kind of blow inside the compartment there. And I've gotten quite a lot of the dust that was in here out. Now that I've gotten it out with those cotton swabs, I can use a wet swab to pull off more. And you're just doing this by eye. It's this machine. I've seen machines far dirtier than this. This is not anything to, it didn't really faze me at all when I saw it, because I've seen machines that were a lot dirtier. But again, you're dealing with, it's not so much an aesthetic thing, because again, you're not going to really be, showing off the inside. But you really need to keep these areas, get them clean. Remember, it's been a long time since a lot of these machines saw any service at all. And it's when you have these moving metal parts, having lint and dust and stuff, it's just going to bog the machine down. It may still run. These machines are strong, but honestly, you don't want that. You want the machine to be as powerful and as efficient as possible, and extend its life as much as possible. So definitely want to you definitely want to do that. So what I'll do here is I'll come behind. There are no gears in here, so I'll come behind with sewing machine oil. And again, let's see. So again, we're going to use the same technique I've used other places. Normally, you'll go up top and you'll put in, you'll push the little spring-loaded cap off of there, and you'll start putting oil in. Normally, you put 1 drop. That's normal maintenance. But this machine is dry as a bone. It could be 30 years since it last got used, since it last saw any sewing machine oil. So instead of 1 drop, you're seeing me put probably between 2 and 3 drops in some sections. And again, that's not what the machine needs normally, but it definitely can use a little extra, because it's gone so long without it, and you want to, it's like priming. You're sort of priming, in a way, you're kind of priming this machine to get it back up to a full level of lubrication. So don't be afraid to use sewing machine oil when you're, as I like to say, waking up an old machine that you're trying to get back. Don't be afraid to do that, because it very likely needs it. You'll notice I've got some here on the needle bar, so that when the needle bar goes down, I'm going to hit the other end as well. So we know the needle bar is nice and lubricated. And I think we've gotten all of our little spaces here. One thing you can do, so this is Singer lubricant. It's grease, Singer grease. Now, one thing you can do, you could oil the pressure bar lever down out over here in the back. You can certainly put oil on it and it'll be fine. I like to use a little, and I mean a little dab of grease. And I do this because, oh crap, my grease is actually separated on me. It looks more like oil. When grease sits for a while, some of you may have noticed this, it will want to separate, right? Grease is essentially oil with a solid that's mixed in to help it be thick, so it'll stay in one place and not run around. But this here I can tell, so I can try to do this. You gotta be careful. These tubes are plastic and they easily split. They're not, good God, they can't even use aluminum like they did in the old days. Although those might be vulnerable to splitting as well, for all I know. Yeah, this is some older grease apparently, but it's working and it's doing what I'm asking it to do, which is to lubricate this. Remember that this handle's used a lot, right? So we definitely want to make sure everything has been given the lubrication. Again, it was designed for. This is not something we're just sort of, doing on a whim and thinking, oh, maybe that would be cool. No, they were designed. Make sure we get the pressure bar here. They were designed to be lubricated, just like the engines in your cars. Okay, so that's essentially the side compartment for the Necchi. Again, the Necchi was innovative in many ways. Here you can see the little, I don't know if that's a good view of it or not. Ugh, you can see the indicator that sticks out. So if you see that, be extra careful when you go to put this back on. Make sure that the indicator is clearing the slot, right? Because if you weren't aware of this and you weren't paying attention, you could actually think, oh, it's not going in. Maybe I need to push. You don't want to damage anything there. So what we'll do is we'll get this lined up. We'll get our little screw or bolt screw to go back in. And this is a little trick I think I've shown you guys before I like to do. I put 1 drop of sewing oil when I'm putting a screw back in. I do this with all of them when I take them out and then put them in. And I do that because it just helps proof it for the future. It's going to have a little layer of oil there, and when I go to undo it, I don't have to worry. Again, metal on metal normally needs some form of lubrication. If you don't, it puts more stress on the metal and shortens its life. Sounds kind of silly for a machine that's built in 52, 53 and is still going to go strong when we're done here. Okay, and you'll notice it is flush and it has been put in. And just another FYI here, when you notice I'm turning the screw, and as soon as you feel it snug up, because you can tell it's tightening, just stop. That's good enough, right? So there we go, the side compartment of the Necchi BU Mira. A lot of the Necchi BU series are going to have something very similar to this in terms of the side compartments, and that's essentially what you'll be, seeing when you open it up. Hopefully, maybe you won't have as much dust. Sometimes you have more. I've opened side compartments of machines before, and I could barely see the mechanism. It was so full of crud. But the machines are forgiving. They're tough, but they really appreciate having the maintenance done. If you really want to demand a lot of your machine, you gotta maintain it. And for those of you, this video is oriented toward those of you who are just getting an old machine. And a lot of times the people selling them, either they don't know or they tell you it runs, and that doesn't mean anything. You really have to go through the machine as we're doing and getting it ready to sew. That's why you're not going to see any thread in the machine yet. We still got a ways to go. But anyway, appreciate you guys watching. This is one of those extra fancy features that the Necchis of the early 50s had. And they were trying to make a mark. They wanted to convince people to buy their machine versus one of the other imported competitors. And of course, they were competing against the Kenmore brand at Sears and the Singer brand, which was the big gorilla of the sewing world. So they did an impressive job. This is one of the more innovative machines of its era. And but I love them, and my clients love them because they are so powerful. Considered one of the most powerful zigzag sewing machines of the vintage era ever. I mean, literally ever. There are many great machines. There are a lot of great Japanese clone machines, but this one is extra special, I think. Thanks for watching, everyone.